The thing that'll suck about deciding to do Tremor for this canto is that I have, like, no Tremor ego, and Tremor very much relies on ego. Hey, but welcome back to more Limbus Company. I'm SlayerMathis, and last time we kinda started Murder on the Warp Express, and this time we will be continuing it. Or, like, really getting it started. But first things first, we're gonna go and grab ourselves the uptie 3s for everything. Nab all the stuff we got. Ho there! Art thou home? The child brusquely calls upon the homeowner. She stands in front of a house in some average-looking residential area. Flanking her are other uniformed individuals, also patiently waiting for the stubbornly shut door to open. I sense nothing in the way of responses. I mean, we've kind of been crowding in front of his door and demanding him to come out. Heck, I wouldn't leave my own vows in him. Peace! Speak not if thou knowest not. There must be awful that nags him. Verily, 'tis said that the hearts of the guilty are telltale hearts. I believe that the same outcome would have awaited me had I visited him all on my lonesome. Well, maybe you don't always have to start a job by constantly banging on their front doors like this. There are procedures to this, procedures. The child whispered something to the other child standing behind her before straightening her back and clearing her voice. Hark! I am a T-Code Class 3 staff, and I carry with me the authority to collect thy time. I have waited for thine answer for 5 minutes upon arrival in accordance with our procedures, and have even procured this identification watch to prove my identity. Yet thou art yet to respond in any fashion. Thus do I declare that any further refusal to comply shall be met with swift punishments befitting thy crime of tax evasion. Time collectors. Not a profession unique to T-Corp. In this district, the use of time manipulation isn't only for speeding up or slowing down someone's day. Time itself is also used as a currency. And as a part of the economic system, it is only natural that it would be subject to taxation. Most people with time debt are good with making their payments. People working for a halfway decent company often have their time expenses covered by the company or are provided with extra time as part of the employee benefits. However, there are two kinds of people who often fail to pay their time taxes. First are those who, in their greed, intentionally maneuver around having to pay their taxes despite their immense wealth. And the second are the destitute ones, those who cannot keep up with the exponentially rising time tax interest. Some may condemn the former and take pity on the latter, but eventually all choose to remain silent before the seemingly fair and equal notion that the collectors come to claim time from both the rich and the poor. And the system is but an illusion of equality, because an hour's worth to a rich man is quite different from an hour's worth to a poor man. There is nothing fair or equal about this. However, given the confident tone of the child's voice, despite her clear knowledge of this inequality, it is quite likely that the owner of this house is someone of the former category. No response, is it? Unjust villains! Her enthusiasm is a good indicator of whether the collection target is someone of the former or the latter. Whenever she has to collect time from the latter, her enthusiasm completely sizzles out, and she practically drags her feet to get the job done. Sherry's home? Forsooth! I have meticulously studied the time use records of this long-term tax evader, classification number 97300155307. It hath been confirmed that an incident of temporal stimulation was activated within the building a mere 3 hours ago, and remained within the building's premises. In other words, this villain completely ignored our orders, despite hearing every word. The coward hides behind the walls of his home, waiting in bated breath for our departure. You're unusually prepared today. I remember how you're doing the Backstreet's collection job. Did you stop and complain every few steps that you wanted something to eat? Now that the owner's lack of intent to respond hath been verified, Roger, run the gates! Gotcha. Whew, I do enjoy this door kicking part of my job. The door shatters to pieces with a loud bang. What the hell? It is trespassing, all of you now! You destroyed my door! Oh, trespassers, are we? Fairly it's quite apparent that the owls are unaware that we are allowed to enter their property without a warrant should we espy a probable cause. Oh, shit. Still, it's completely unreasonable. How you justify making me, a kind, easy, poor man, pay that much in taxes? This is accelerating. The tax evader should not have said that. The child's voice, which had been enthusiastically lighthearted until this moment, suddenly cooled into a deep, icy tone. There was a brief click at the clockwork before the child turned into a blur and she burst forth in an explosion of speed as she entered the accelerated time. My timepiece warns me that mine assigned hours for work purposes is running low. Ain't a chance to spare any space for the likes of thee. A massive pickaxe held in her hand slammed into the tax evader. Worry not for thy health. This collection pickaxe doth not affect thy physical body, contrary to mine wishes that it would, that is. Just as the child said, the pickaxe wasn't touching the tax evader. It was floating slightly above his flesh. Because the Tao set to time collection mode, once to shout any physical harm. But his time was getting siphoned up into the pickaxe through that tiny gap, as though it was a syringe drawing fluid into its container. Kind, innocent, and poor, is it? There's still some time until the proper amount of time is siphoned through the pickaxe. The child takes that moment to have a look around the house. several trinkets that immediately caught her eye when her co-worker smashed the door comes into view. That item there is a limited edition trinket from a famous artisan of the east of the nest, is it not? It said that the shop operates only at the highest possible level of acceleration, limiting its sale to only those beyond a certain level of affluence. I know that store. They obviously serve the rich folk in it. You're right. That store just opens and shuts its doors to an instance that regular Joes can't even try to enter. Indeed, certainly it hardly appears that an item to be an item that a poor person may have in their possessions, no? I have already else to contend thee with. It appears thy time hath already slowed out distinct with our own already. The child mutters solemnly before dislodging her pickaxe from the tax evader. Let the following truths be clearly understood by thee, if thou remainest jailed him, this celebrated time, it will do not as the world outside passes thee by with nary a care. The loss thou hast inflicted upon others in thy greed, in thy suction of those who are truly destitute, and thy reluctance to pay what is due. Collection is complete for classification number 937-001-5307. You ever enjoy watching those Time Ranger dumbasses slow down to a crawl after getting bonked by that time pickaxe? Look, it'll take a whole 30 minutes for them to finally take that next step. The child and her companions left the accelerated tax evader, who was now moving slower than a sloth, and exited the building through the broken door. I must wonder, how much would it cost to fix that broken door? Well, that is, if he even manages to make it to the door before the sun sets. I love Dawn's goofy hat in that. Sadly, she actually does. She's the one T-Corp out there that doesn't wear it. Also, I do want to double check what Tremor ego we even could do as... Okay. Clarification. There's Tremor ego as an ego that do Tremor stuff, such as Pursuance Merceau. But then there's Tremor ego, which I believe Crushbound Pass would be. No, actually, does not do. Sadly, there's not a ton of. Not a ton of them. I believe Christmas Nightmare doesn't do any changes. None of those do. Everlasting, for example. The big thing with Tremor is that there's a lot of different Tremor types that are mostly all inflicted by... Oh, actually, Thumb or So will be able to do some unique Tremor. But it's the unique types of Tremor that really do something. Tremor Everlasting, for example, you can possibly trigger Tremors extra times, but I believe it is only for that turn. If I recall, that was in here. Guard of Thorns, I know, doesn't have any. Holiday doesn't. No, there's more ego than that, right? There's more than just the one ego. Surely I'm forgetting something. Wishing Karen, I know, doesn't do a unique ego. Or doesn't do a unique Tremor. Crushbound Pass, shockingly, doesn't. Those don't. Nothing there. I don't think... Does Binds do Tremor? It does. So Tremor Fracture. So, basically it's just extra stagger. Yeah. Stagger on steroids. But, for example, when we get them up and we go to Thumb or So, Tremor Scorch. So this one is extra wrath damage. Who else does? I'm trying to remember who else does. Thumb Sinclair also does Tremor Scorch. None of those are Tremor. Does your Divvy Honolulu do Tremor? I forget. It does do Reaver, which is extra sloth damage. Then I think it's in Standard Affair. Yeah. Oofy Heathcliff also does Decay, which is defense level down, which is fine. It's not the best, but... Gonna be ashamed that we won't get nearly as much in terms of our Tremor, like, high-end potency. We'll be able to get some with, thumb. Alright, I'm going all in. Come at me if you can! Amidst the sounds of keyboards, flapping papers, and voices, sound the song Two Cherries Went Off like this place. That's what I'm talking about! Child was thrilled and enthused, unlike everyone else whose brows are furrowed. Underscreen is an online casino game that's said to be pretty popular inside of the backstreet where the Child's office is. The Child seems to be deeply into this game lately. Just need one good card. Boss? Oh, I'm trying to focus here. Can it wait a bit? It can't wait. I need to check this. Could be the Child's subordinates? Could that be the Child's subordinate? Speaking to the Child with a rather grumpy voice, the employee held a stack of paper in their arms. Oh, come on. We've got 5 days worth of documents. When do you approve really quickly? Here it is! The scream silenced the various noises that had filled the office for a second. I've got it! I got the thing! Check this out, babe. Royal, straight, flush. What's that? No. That's a set of 3 months' salary for everyone here rolling into my account? Alrighty, listen up, everyone. No one in the office pays attention to the child, but she goes on anyway. The employee next to her, whose patience was reaching its limits, also went on. Boss, the work isn't going anywhere without your stamp on the papers. You need to work. Yeesh, you're loud. Why are you like that? The child finally turned to face the nagging employee. Let's see, approvals. You know I approve them most of the time, don't you? I even gave you my stamp. Still, the procedures. What good are procedures in our teeny tiny workshop? We have to outsource everything because we don't have the space for it. And you gotta say, you think I'm not working? I'm the one who's bringing the job, you know. Those jobs are piling up on our desk. It's not the rep's job to care. Kind of the lovely staff I am. And also, I've never once had any of your salaries in your ears. Aren't I doing enough? So if we go on like this, well, it's time for outdoor work. I make with the boss, we got to get some work done, as still pleaded. Leaving behind the stunned employee, the child stormed out. People have different definitions of what makes a good leader. To that employee, at least, the child must seem totally inept. And yet, huzzah! The child was undoubtedly an expert at her outdoor work. Thanks to her superb ability to tune up, her workshop has never been left wanting for work. And her roguish magnetism made it that much easier to expand the workshop's customer base. She climbed to see a representative because she was capable. A diamond drilling on a mountain hill still a diamond, as they say. Alright, that's a wrap for this one. I need jobs with better pay. The child didn't want to care about details, but she wanted her office to grow nonetheless. To that end, she kept searching and searching for leads on juicy jobs. Perhaps her effort has paid off. K-Corp, a request from the Nest. This was a request for scrap and not tuning up. Sounded a bit of a workout. And the child's drawn into one hell of a job. One of the biggest things is, like, no one will ever get why they did 3 row spanner IDs when they're fucking pointless. Okay, they're not pointless. Just did, like, nothing. I don't think Yorodivi Ryoshi does any special tremor. T-Corp staff standard issue weaponry. A rice cooker that doubles as a slow cooker for hearty beef stew. Cute chicken-shaped plush. Lollipop candies of various flavors too. All kinds of items are on display in each stall. At the famous barter market of the Yorodivi underground hideouts. The child came here to trade for an item of great importance. As much as scrounged over for every single leftover screw she could find after building her invention. 4 screws in a box of cigs. Are they of equivalent worth? Nonsense! This box is packed to the brim with cigs all of you, Dave. Share it, screws! The Yorodivi merchant shakes his head, but the child wasn't going back down just yet. She shoved the screws on her palm close to his face and declared, 4. 6! And that's with the discount for being one of us, lass. 4. 5! I won't go any lower than that, alright? 4. Refuse again, and I'll sink. Perhaps the child's glare intimidated him. His eyes began to wander in search of something he needed, something she would be happy to take care of in return for the box of cigs. They came to a sudden stop on his radio that broke down some time ago. His attachment radio. Just hold on a moment. How about this? No to pay my screws yet? Shit, this broken radio working again over the whole box. Oh. Right. Gotta get my hand at tricking. Well, I can't, from what I can tell, it's a one problem. Just as the merchant was starting to explain what was wrong with his radio, the child pulled out a massive spanner from somewhere and began smashing the merchant's radio with it. Clang, clang, clang. The heavy sound of metal slamming into metal, something one wouldn't expect to hear outside places like the workshops, was more than enough to freak out the merchant. He jumped from his seat, screaming, and tried to stop the child, but it was too late. What the hell, Ace? Look, it's completely busted! Looked harder. The merchant, after a moment of silence for his crushed radio, gently reached out and pressed its buttons. And it slammed short. What? Yeah, what? You don't trust percussive maintenance to do its job. The child was no longer interested in conversing further with the merchant, no matter how happy he looked as he tinkered with his radio. She was now looking at the other child, who was eyeing sundry lollipops on display at some other stall. She took a box of cigarettes from the merchant before kicking the other child in the shin. No more lollipops. Don't give me a job. Now. I'm technically your captain, right? Don't you always kick me to get me attention. You're so mean. The child protested with a lollipop in his mouth and rubbed his shin in pain, but his expression made it quite clear that he didn't really mind this small violence. In fact, it appeared that the other child was used to such treatments from her. He nonchalantly produced a bundle of paper from his overcoat and placed it in her hand. I'd appreciate it a lot if you come to our hideout to pick up your next assignment. Anyways, I trust you take care of this list just as well, right? I appreciate it as NOMB. The targets you gave me last time were too bland. I barely felt anything from bats in your skulls. Maybe like this one. Next target's the bigwig, National Industrial, is the proprietor of the biggest factory in the area. He's... A child's lips slowly curled into a smile as the other child continued to explain her target. The child, now outside the Daredevil hideout and weapon in hand, slowly stalks her target. The look of unsuppressed elation is clear on her face. Oh, leave that brat. He finally fished up something exciting. In her hand is a piece of paper they call the list. Names of those who exploited the weak and the downtrodden filled the paper from corner to corner, barely leaving any white paper to be seen under all that ink. The child's current target was on the list. It's an artistic ecstasy to watch the look of someone who's never experienced shortened time, to have their time taken from them. The child didn't have some grand, just purpose in mind when she picked up this list. She doesn't really care about the redistribution of wealth or making sure that no one goes hungry either. The heinous act of evil men was none of her business either. In fact, even the Daredevil ideology was none of her business. She just enjoyed cutting the halves short. Hey, Haves? I don't know, that's a little weird. Those from cutting their time short, or their lives. Our row is in the AOS. The child suddenly breaks into a sprint after passing the flickering streetlight. The child swings the spanner, albeit at an oddly slow speed. If someone with a lot of time were to see it, they would be able to tell the exact trajectory of that swing. But the rich man still failed to dodge her assault. As she swung at a meticulously calculated angle that left no room for him to move. A weighty, blunt noise briefly echoes through the alley. The child grins satisfactorily as she places the cigarette she traded between her lips. She stretched quite a bit of time on the target. That's when she noticed a brief flashing light next to the street light. A T-Corp surveillance camera. That recording went to this piece of art justice. The child furrows her brows and swung her spanner again, this time at the camera. The surveillance camera promptly drops to the ground. Now, isn't this a much better angle? Ryoshu is such an edgelord, and it's hilarious. The W-Corp Ryoshu is especially heavy on the edgelord factor. It's top tier shit. And finally, we'll nab T-Corp Sinclair. We'll at least get in... actually, how long is it until the first fight of Warp Express? I don't actually remember. Late at night, on a pitch-dark mud flat. Flashes of blue sparks flickered on and off somewhere there. Following the light was that was too glaring to be from a lighthouse, yet too meek to be a fire, there was a child firing sparks at the insides of a large weapon with his welding rod. Let's see... If the weld beads get too big here, the electronics will be affected. I've been told. Better keep it to a minimum. What was I supposed to do next? With these guys, the child reads down the memo written on a small sheet of paper under the tiny lamp. That must be the circuit diagram the coworker drew for him. Right. Now let's get to the connecting circuits. This time, the thread of smoke quietly billowed instead of sparks. The child's brows were furrowed, perhaps disturbed by the acrid smoke created while soldering. Phew. Now, a click is followed by a hum of electric power. The child earnestly hoped that his modification of the weapon was a success. Alas... Come on, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. A small sigh filled the shop's still air. Silence felt doubly palpable thanks to the weapon turning off. It's okay, let's try again. With a desperate look on his face, the child began examining the circuit board, holding a pair of tweezers in his hands. At the same time, a growing feeling of anxiety ruffled the child's mind. Being the last of the group to return from the book, it was by sheer luck that he was discovered before he starved to death, he thought. Though he happened to start working at a boat shop, his skills and prowess as a fixer weren't really needed here. When he tried to help out with hunting, the leader was doing it with far greater efficiency. And when he thought he'd lend a hand in mechanics, his colleague was much more capable than he was. The unease that he's too mediocre to make meaningful contributions in any field has been constantly haunting the child. This must be it! That's why the child is desperate to upgrade his weapon, learning from his co-workers, and hunt trash crabs with greater efficiency using the improved weapon. There! That was the only way he could think to be helpful. I'll give it a test around tomorrow's hunt. Things don't always go swimmingly, however. It's working, I guess, but it's not quite there. Looks like the modification didn't go as the child planned. Well, in certain look, the child laboriously slew trash crabs. Maybe the gear ratio in the part where the chains are attached was off? So I don't want to get back. Still, the child doesn't give up. He'll keep at it until a better solution is found. It is actually 2 story things before the first combat, so we actually won't be getting to it this time. I'm a liar. A filthy, filthy liar. But that will do it for this time, and next time we will actually be really starting on Murder on the Warp Express. But until then, see you guys later. Well, I'll also have, okay, I'm gonna have Merceau in for that, Thumb Merceau. And yeah, and potentially Goofy Heathcliff, but that one's not a guarantee. Anyways, that'll do for this time. Yeah. Until then, see you guys later, and all that.